Now the next part is how to pass a list from your Python code down to your C code. And this is pretty simple. We have the API for the list as usual. You can go and check for that online. I'm going to go back and the list objects. Oh, sorry. We have this, the list object. Let's look for the list object. Yes, the list object here. And here we have the things. We can get the item from a list, then print those items. So let's go back in the Python code and see how we can do that. Now we know that our printed function is going to receive a list object. Then from the API specifications, we can get the list size and get the items, then set the item. I'm just going to copy those things. Just for now, I'm going to command them. Okay, these are the functions we need. So the first thing is I'm going to declare a variable to store the length of the list. And then we'll call the list size function on the pointer on the list object. Then also we need to declare an index variable in order to loop through the list. Then what happens? We go for index is equal to 0, index lesser than length, index plus plus. Then the next thing is to get an item from the list. For that, we have to call the get item. We need to pass in the list, then the current index. We have also to receive a object type. I'm going to declare a object, and I'm going to call item a object pointer variable. Item is equal to list get item. Then what else we can do is to call the object print function. So this will give us a representation of the object. It could be whatever. So we pass in the item, we specify the output stream, then with the third parameter, raw. So there are other ways of you can look into the documentation about the object print, but basically this mimic the call to the print functions as in your Python code. So next we want to add a line break, and that's it. I'm going to delete these lines, and here we're able to display a list. So we know that we receive a object. That means we can call the list function stuff on the object. Let's compile the code. And from the Python code, since we have compiled the shared library, I'm going to call to say my custom lead, then we're going to configure the print object. So we say it's going to receive a Python object. So C type, a Python object as a parameter or argument. Then now we can call my custom lead printed. Then we pass in a list. For example, a list of integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. Okay. Now let's compile and run. Yes, here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's been displayed from the C code. It's been displayed from the C code. And this is how we loop through a list. We can even insert things into the list. And if you want, I'm going to declare, for example, a list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we pass that to our printf function. Then from within the printf function, we are going to insert all the values inside. We can insert some other values into the list and display it from the Python code. That also is something possible. So what are the functions we can use here? Um, we have the append, for example, the PyList append function. I'm just going to copy it here. So this will append an object at the end of the list. Now, what are we going to append at the end of the object list? Now, what are we going to append at the end of the object list? So let's go back into the code and look for something like a byte or a long type. Not sure. Let's say something object.h. Let's say we're going to insert in the list a Boolean type. And where are the functions? There's no functions. Or maybe a float type, a float object. Everything is object in Python. And that's it. We have from string. It might be a bit easier to just create a byte object. Okay. So we have, yes, byte from string. We're going to create a byte, a string from a byte object from a strings. Only for the sake of this example. Now we have the py. I'm going to share the VS Code. Okay, so we have py list append. We pass in the list, then we create a byte object from a string, and that would be that grade code. And what else? We're going to append other things like A, or maybe great dream, great sleep. So this is from the C code, but this object is being modified from the memory. And from the Python code, we can actually see those changes. So when you call the printf function display the values and append some other values or some other object to the list. Then from the Python code, we're going to display again the modified list. So I'm going to say for item in items, print item. Now I'm going to just print something like a dash just to make a difference. Let's compile this code again. Great, no error. And here it is. We have here the list displayed from the C code. Then after that, from the C code, we've added some Python bytes object at the end. And this is, and after the call of the print function, we've got the Python code displaying the same list again, and we see that we have some this we see that the list have been modified from the C code. So this is very interesting in the sense that, for example, if you have some very complicated tasks or some very data intensive works, you can just do those complicated tasks from your highly performant C code, then add the resulting data as in the Python list. And still you can use the result from your Python code, which is more easier. So this is all for this session. Yes, we had to move on the dictionaries. Um, I think we can stop now because it's too much to handle all that. But the principles are the same. Thank you and have a great time. You can still ask questions in the WhatsApp group, and the link for the C Python repository will be available under the video.